Let us now understand dishonour of bill. Before we discuss the accounting entries, let us understand what are the implications and what are noting charges. What is dishonour of a bill? When the person who has to make the payment on the bill, the person who has accepted the bill of exchange, that is the acceptor of bill of exchange, or the person who made the promisor, who made the promise, the promisor of the promissory note. When he does not make a payment, when he does not make the payment against the bill, he is unable to make the payment against the bill, then it is called dishonour of the bill. It is called dishonour of a bill. When a bill is dishonoured, the bill has to be cancelled. We will discuss the entries later, but let us understand what are noting charges. Now, when a bill is presented for payment and payment is not made, it is dishonour of a bill. And we said that a bill or a promissory note, a bill of exchange or a promissory note is a legal document, is a financial instrument. But if the person is able to state that the bill was never presented, then he has no liability. If X presents the bill to Y and Y does not honor the bill, does not make the payment, X can go to court. But if Y is able to prove that the bill was never presented, or rather X is not able to prove that the bill was actually presented, it is possible that Y will not have any liability. So whenever there is dishonour, or whenever X suspects that there could be dishonour, he may approach a public official called the notary public. So the notary public is a public official, and once the bill is handed over to the notary public will present the bill to the debtor. If the debtor pays up the money, the notary public will collect the money and give it to the creditor. So X hands over the bill to the notary public. The notary public will present the bill to Y. If Y makes payment, the money will be handed over to X. But if Y is not in a position to make the payment and dishonors, does not pay the money to the notary public will record this dishonour. He will write across the bill has been dishonoured, and also state the reason for the dishonour. So now the dishonour has been registered. It has been proved that the bill has been dishonoured. For this, the notary public charges a nominal fee. Though that fee is called noting charges. Now, who pays the noting charges? Whoever presents the bill ends up paying the noting charges. So X has handed over this bill to the notary public in order to register the dishonour. Therefore, X will end up making this payment. However, though X has to make this payment, X will not recognize it as an expense in X's books. X will collect this money from Y. It is not an expense in X's books because X is not responsible for the dishonour. Who is responsible for the dishonour? Y is responsible for the dishonour, and the person who is responsible for dishonour, noting charges will be an expense in the books of the person who is responsible for dishonour. Therefore, though Y ends up actually making the cash payment of the noting charges to the notary public, the expense will be recorded only in the books of, it will be treated as an expense only in the books of the person who is responsible for the dishonor. Now, it is possible that X had transferred it is possible that X has endorsed this bill to Z. In that case, it would be Z who would present the bill for payment. It would be Z who would have to pay cash as noting charges to the notary public. But again, it is not Z's expense. Who is responsible for the dishonor? Y is responsible for the dishonor, and noting charges would be shown as an expense only in the books of Y. Z will try to recover this money from X who gave him the bill, and X will in turn try to recover this money from Y, from whom X received the bill. Having understood this concept of dishonor and noting charges, let us look at the journal entries. First and foremost, on receipt. Again, the situations are the same. 1, it is held till maturity. 2, bill is discounted. And 3, it is endorsed. On receipt of a bill, the entry is the same whether it's case 1, case 2 or case 3. Bills receivable account debit to debtor. So X in his books will say bill receivable account debit to Y, because previously when the goods were sold to Y, X would have passed the entry Y's account debit to sales. With the receipt of the bill receivable, Y's account can be cancelled, settled. Now let us say this bill was held till maturity, and on maturity, the bill was dishonored. If the bill is dishonored, the entry to be passed is debtor account debit to bill receivable. The bill has to be cancelled because it is expired, no longer exists. And the debtor's account has to be brought back into our books because money needs to be collected from the debtor. X has to collect this money from Y. Therefore, it debits Y's account and credits bill's receivable account with the value of the bill. Now suppose noting charges were also incurred. Suppose X incurred 200 rupees as noting charges. This will not be shown as noting charges to cash in the books of X because noting charges will not be treated as an expense in the books of X. But what will X do? X will try to recover this money from Y. Therefore, the entry that X would pass would be Y's account debit to cash. Y's account is debited because this money is to be recovered from Y with noting charges. Therefore, in our example, if the bill is dishonored and noting charges are 200, then the entry on dishonor that X would pass would be Y's account debit with 10,000, the value of the bill, plus 200, that is 10,200. Y's account would be debited to bill receivable, value of the bill 10,000, to cash, assuming X paid the notary public in cash. So Y's account debit 10,200 to bill receivable 10,000 and to cash 200. To cash 200 because actual payment was made in cash to the notary public. Let us take the second scenario where we got the bill receivable account debit to debtor. It was discounted with the bank. As we said before, let us take the same example where bank account we got only 19,400, discount account was 600 and bills receivable was 20,000. So 20,000 was the value of the bill discounted with the bank, 600 went off as discount charges and X got a credit of 19,400. So bank account debit 19,400, discount account 600 to bills receivable 20,000. Now what happens when this bill is dishonored on maturity? Our bankers, Axis bankers, would have presented the bill for payment and it would have got dishonored. Let us say when the bill was dishonored, 20,000 bill was dishonored, maybe the noting charges were 300 rupees. Suppose there are noting charges of 300. The bank will collect this money from our account. The bank will straight away debit excess account. So money will move out of bank's account to the extent of 20,000, which was the value of the bill, plus 300 rupees, which is the noting charges. So bank account would be credited with 20,300, 300 being noting charges, which the bank has paid to the notary public, and 20,000 being the value of the bill. Debtor account debit to bank 20,300. Here we have split the entry. Debtor account debit to bank with the value of the bill 20. Debtor account debit again to bank with the amount of noting charges of 300. Please note that the amount which the bank would take from X's account is the full value of the bill 20,000. The 600 discount which was taken by the bank is nothing but an interest charge for the 3 months of credit that X has enjoyed. Let us come to the third case. In the third case, the bill is endorsed. Let us say the X transfers this bill to Z. In that case, the entry would be Z's account debit to bills receivable. Let us say in this third case, X had purchased goods from Z. Purchase account debit to Z, an amount of 20,000. Instead of paying Z cash, X hands over the bill to Z. So the entry becomes Z's account debit to bills receivable, amount of 20,000. Now what happens in case of dishonor? Z presents the bill for payment, but Y does not honor the bill. The bill gets dishonored. The dishonor is registered with the notary public. The notary public charges 300 rupees. Z ends up paying the 300 rupees as noting charges, but Z will not record it as Z's expense. Z will recover this money from Y. Z will recover this money from X because X had given him the bill. X in its turn will try to recover this money from Y. So what would be the entry on dishonor? In X will have to reinstate Y as a debtor. So Y's account debit, bring back Y as debtor, bring back Z as creditor. So Y's account debit to Z, but the amount now would be 20,300, 20,000 the value of the bill and 300 the noting charges. Debtor account debit to creditor with the value of the bill, and again debtor account debit to creditor with the amount of noting charges, 300. This would be the accounting entries in case of dishonor. So neither X nor Z record the noting charges as an expense in their books. The person who makes the payment credits cash since actually cash has gone out. But they will try to recover it from the person from whom the bill was received. Therefore, Z tries to recover it from X and X tries to recover the noting charges from Y. Noting charges would be shown as an expense only in the books of Y, which we shall come to later. Let us consider this example. It is the same example as before, only there is a dishonor. Ram sells goods to Shyam for rupees 10,000. Ram draws a bill of exchange for 10,000 duly accepted by Shyam. Past journal entries in the books of Ram, assuming the bill is dishonored, noting charges of 50 were incurred. A option, where if the bill is held till maturity, bill is discounted with the bank at the rate of 2% and the bill is endorsed to Ganesh. So the problem is exactly the same, only there is dishonor. So this is in the books of Ram, journal entries in the books of Ram. The first entry for sale of goods would be Shyam's account debit to sales an amount of 10,000. Next, a bill is drawn by Ram, it is accepted by Shyam, therefore it is a bill receivable in the books of Ram. Bills receivable account debit to Shyam. With this, Shyam's account is closed. Now the A option. These two entries would be common to option A, B and C. If the bill is held till maturity. So if the bill is held till maturity and then it is dishonored. So what happens? Ram presents the bill for payment. Shyam does not pay and Ram ends up paying rupees 50 as noting charges. So what would be the entry? First and foremost, Shyam has to be reinstated as a debtor. We need to recover not only 10,000, we need to recover 10,050 rupees from Shyam. Therefore, entry would be Shyam account debit. Shyam is now a debtor for 10,050. 2. The value of the bill was only 10,000. That bill is now cancelled. So bill receivable account was debited before, now it's credited and this account is closed. 2. Cash is the amount of cash that was paid as noting charges. So with this entry, the dishonor has been recorded. Shyam's account debit. So now Shyam has come back as a debtor in the books of Ram, but the amount is slightly more. It includes 10,000 as well as 50 rupees of noting charges. What happens in case of option B? In case of option B, again, the first two entries are the same, Shyam account to sales and bills receivable account to Shyam with the amount of 10,000 for sales being made and a bill being received against the dues. Then the bill is discounted with the bank for 2%. As discussed before, 9,800 was therefore received. So what is the entry for that? When we discount the bill, on discounting of the bill, the entry, as was discussed before, would be bank account debit 9,800. Discount is an expense. Discount account debit 202. Bill receivable 10,000. So now the bill receivable account has been closed. We don't have a bill receivable account in Ram's books. But what happens on maturity? The bank presents the bill to Shyam. Shyam dishonors the bill and say the bank incurs 50 rupees as noting charges. The bank will take it out of Ram's bank account. So as far as Ram is concerned, 10,050 rupees will move out of his bank account. So what would be the entry? His bank would be credited for 10,050 and Shyam would be responsible for this 10,050. Entry would therefore be Shyam account debit, debtor reinstated for 10,050 to bank 10,050. This is the entry on dishonor of the bill. As a result, there is no bill receivable since it was cancelled when it was discounted. Shyam's account has come back for an amount of 10,000 plus 50 rupees of noting charges. In case of option C, In case of option C, again, the first two entries are the same. But when the bill is endorsed to Ganesh on endorsement, this is on endorsement. Entry is Ganesh account debit to bills receivable, an amount of 10,000. On dishonour, it is Ganesh who presents the bill. Bill is dishonoured and Ganesh ends up paying 50 rupees as noting charges. But Ganesh will try to recover this. Ganesh will collect this money from Ram, because it was from Ram that Ganesh got the bill. So what would be the entry now? Ram has to pay Ganesh 10,000 plus 50 rupees noting charges. Ram will try to get this 10,000 plus 50 rupees from Shyam. Therefore, the entry would be to reinstate the debtor, bring the debtor back into the books, bring the creditor back into the books. Entry would be Shyam account debit. How much does Shyam owe Ram now? 10,000 plus 50. How much does Ram owe Ganesh? 10,000 plus noting charges of 50. Shyam account debit to Ganesh. This would be the scheme of entries. In case of dishonour of a bill, if the bill is held till maturity, discounted with the bank, or endorsed. To test our understanding of the accounting entries, let us quickly go through 2-3 more examples. A bill of rupees 12,000 was discounted by A with the banker for rupees 11,880. At maturity, the bill returned dishonoured, noting charges rupees 50. How much amount will the bank deduct from A's bank balance at the time of such dishonour? A 12,000, B 11,880, C 12,050 and D 11,930. The bill was for 12,000. It was discounted for 11,880 and noting charges were 50 when the bill was dishonoured. So what would the amount be? It would be bill amount plus noting charges. So that is 12,000 plus 50, 12,050. So the answer should be C. 12,050. X sold goods to Y for rupees 2 lakh. Y paid cash 60,000. X will grant 2% discount on balance and Y requests X to draw a bill for balance. The amount of the bill will be option A 1,96,000, B 1,36,000, C 1,37,200 and D 1,40,000. Sold goods for 2 lakhs, paid cash of 60,000, so the balance due is now only 1,40,000. But X will grant 2% discount on this, so less 2% of 1,40,000, that's 2,800. And Y requests X to draw a bill for the balance. Therefore, the amount of the bill after deducting 2% of the discount would be 1,37,200, option C. Correct answer should be option C, 1,37,200.